That should be like the open line, the qualifier. Are you made of steel before you can get into this business? Can you handle rejection 98% of the time? It has become more challenging. Not just people who have only been in the business a couple years, people who have been in the business for 15, 20, 30 years. It has become much more challenging. The strong will survive. There's a natural selection happening.
This young man says to me, "Oh, you're my competition." I said, "Well, if you want to view me that way, then I guess that's what I am. Or I'm a collaborator with you. Depends on how you want to look at it." And he goes, "Oh, I've never thought of that before."
Particularly is still talking to other people in the community who are working the same types of jobs that they are because of the silver medalist concept. Person who didn't get the job, your second place person, my client might just go, this is exactly what we're looking for. Otherwise, that person's just going to sit on a desk or on a shelf collecting dust. Okay, she's a person, I trust her. There's background to her. There's history with her. She has experience. She's not a program. She's a human who understands my needs.
We will always remain human. This is a human endeavor. Hello, I'm Denise Chaffin, and I am your podcast host for Talking TA. Today I have with me, it's such a privilege to have Drea Codispoti. He is the Director of Network Operations for a company called Echelon. And Drea, do me a favor and introduce yourself in a little more detail.
I get questions asked like, so how long did you recruit? I get that all the time. Or how long were you a recruiter? I never was. Actually, before this, I was a production supervisor for a local home builder. So I was the guy organizing all the building of the houses and the subcontractors and making sure that they showed up in time and did their jobs right. That's a job that gives you a bit of an edge. But I was actually recruited into this position. I run the daily operations. I help people connect with others, build business strategies as a part of what they do here and how it works with their desks, their full recruiting desks, and teach them how to use the system properly and how to engage with partners in a way to where it's going to be productive and profitable for their business.
That's such an amazing job. And what a company. I mean, you guys have been around for a long time. And honestly, you sit at a really interesting spot, a remarkable intersection, if you want to call it, where you're seeing hundreds of recruiting agencies, right, work together and collaborate across market cycles, many market cycles, and industry and technology shifts, right, over the years. I mean, 21 years. So you've seen a lot of shifting changes. So tell me something from your vantage point, Drea. How would you describe the state of talent acquisition now? And what do you see with respect to our industry over the next maybe 12 months?
I hate to say it's a great question because everyone says, oh, that's such a great question. But when you think about it, the perspective of what you're asking from, it really is, because this industry, from what I think is this industry makes the world go round. And so because of the changes that I have seen in my 21 years, because I'm a student of this, I've never been a recruiter. I basically recruit within the network to get these people to work, find people partners and help them understand that function. It has given me the, I guess, opportunity and the privilege to really dig in to how things work. It has become more challenging lately. And that's something that I have heard from even not just people who have only been in the business a couple years, people who have been in the business for 15, 20, 30 years. It has become much more challenging because of how fast the industry is changing overnight. We could go back to in 2000 when that monster ad went on the Super Bowl, and everyone was like, oh my God, all the recruiters are going to go out of business. They're still here. And then LinkedIn started to creep up and really make a big thing around, I guess it started to become more of a place in 2007. And they thought, oh, that's it. Recruiters are done. And you're still here. Recruiters are still here. Now everybody's freaking out over AI. Recruiters are always going to be here. I mean, you could say it's kind of like a cockroach. They're not going away. I don't think that they'll gravitate towards that moniker, the recruiting industry. I guess more resilient fighters. But I think right now it's a very much the strong will survive. There's a natural selection happening, and even though I've seen that occur over certain periods of time, but what is interesting though, Denise, is that while I'm seeing some people do that, there's also people getting into the business. And I think it has to do with some of the things we might talk about later. But as far as where things are going and how do I see it, it's very challenging because candidates aren't responding like they used to. People are trying to get in front of them and getting the attention of a client who's already getting 40 calls a day by recruiters. It's a challenge.
It's all about relationships on that end. It's all about chasing your relationships.
You're right. That's chasing your relationship. That's a really good term.
It is though, from that perspective. I mean, and right now though, I think with the industries, right now the big question for us on this end is industries. Which industries are we going to chase and which of our relationships in those industries are we going to stay in contact with? Because that is kind of part of the secret sauce, I think.
Oh, I agree, because knowing where the gold is a big deal.
Yeah, because I mean, from your perspective, I mean, which industries do you see growing and expanding right now? Which ones do you see compressing?
IT is compressed. I think that's common knowledge to many, particularly those who have in it or would recruit in it, because all of a sudden, and I hate to be the person who keeps talking about it, but the 2-letter word, the AI thing, it has changed quite a bit, and it's having an effect on that market. I think it's a ripple effect. I think it'll bounce back though, because it's just a changing. The technology is just changing. I'm probably wrong on this because I'm wrong a lot. Ask my wife. She reminds me. Sorry, just being funny and humble. So I think that's one area that's compressing, but I think just for time period, because if it's going to compress, it's going to explode afterwards. Where I've seen from the network, and so let me give a little bit of pretext to what I'm looking at. The members of our network are all boutique offices. They're mom and pop shops. And so when they're advertising their jobs to the community, this private little country club called Top Echelon Network, they're saying, I have these jobs with my client that I need help with. So I've been privileged to see those things come in and grow. But then also now is where I'm seeing things starve. It's like there's talent, there's a need for talent in areas like healthcare. We have hundreds of healthcare jobs, whether it's physicians, RNs, NPs, LPNs, family practitioners. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of the jobs. They're just not getting filled because there's no talent. And so I keep wondering, when are schools going to really invest in putting more programs together to get people into those programs? Because it's needed. One of the other areas that kind of came up out of nowhere just a couple years ago, because I pay attention to the jobs that are coming in. And up until about 2.5 years ago, I could tell you we probably only had 6 jobs in this industry. And since I've been here in 2005, and it was legal. And I'm going to say this, but I can't believe I'm going to say it out loud, but apparently we need more lawyers. What a horrible thing to say, even though I have friends that are in lawyers, but we have over 250 jobs in this network that are in the legal space. Partners, lawyers, attorneys, paralegals, legal counsel. I mean, everything. It's like, where did this come from?
Okay, now let me ask you a question about healthcare. Over the last 21 years that you've been doing this with Top Echelon, and again, you've been in a remarkable position to be able to see the industry's ebb and flow.
Mm-hmm.
So with healthcare, has that been kind of more of a continuous market across with maybe a few dips here and there, or has it taken drastic dips? What have you seen in the healthcare market?
It's taken a drastic dip over, and the change happened right around the same time of the recession, right? Because we had a new administration with different goals. And it was very slow. It wasn't like overnight, but within a couple years time, I would say 3 years, they went from that, it started to drop, which meant we were dropping in placements eventually because there were fewer and fewer people, right, going into that space. And there's the which is even, this is interesting. I was talking to someone yesterday who's a physician and very much in tune to the market, and they said there are people leaving the business sooner. The average age of retirement is 47 years old.
Are you serious? I never knew
That's what I
this.
was told. That I was just, and he's a physician who's like into the weeds up to this into his eyeballs because it's his life. And I thought, well, I would love to have retired when I was 47.
So they're only in the practice, what, 30 years, or not even 30, like
Not even 30 years.
15 years then maybe, because a lot of them don't even finish their residency until they're close to 30.
Yeah.
Right?
It's such a strange market, but I think that there's a need for those individuals because it's not going to go away. The industry itself is going to change, but the need for an RN or a PA or
yeah.
a physician, good Lord, we're all going to get sick
Well, and
eventually.
not only that, but the staffing pools, I think, for nursing, right, alone. Look how many agencies there are just for nursing.
Right? Hospice, home care. I mean, that whole business is changing right before our eyes. It's like there's a new, I guess, living facility going up at every corner now. You're going to need people to take care of those
The
people.
boomers are aging. Yeah. And the kids don't want to raise them anymore, so they're kicking them into their own little facility.
Yeah, that's right. But those are two of the major ones. I mean, I see there construction.
Yeah, construction.
That's another area. Oh my goodness. If you could clone site supervisors and production managers, you would just it would be a money machine.
So people who are wanting to switch to maybe pivot to a different industry right now, those are some good industries to look at.
The thing, Denise, is finding the people. So I guess I'm saying that to like anybody who's listening and wondered, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you like construction, you're going to make some money. Just because they need people in it, just like healthcare. The talent pool it's dried up.
Let's talk about TA organizations from your perspective, because you're working with a lot of different agencies. And I think the agencies and where you're at in your lofty position are the example of what we can expect over the next 5 to 10 years. Because the agencies, like you made a comment a while ago, that the people who are in this business and who stay in this business through this downturn will, I mean, rise to the top. Those companies, they are obviously serving a number of different industries that are hiring. They are placing their top candidates with these agencies. But if they have great candidates that are kind of like falling away because you hire that top candidate for a particular role, what's happening with all those other great candidates? And I know that's where you guys are really doing well to share those
Sure. Oh, yeah.
resources. We call them Silver-Medalist candidates, right?
Oh, I never thought of it. I mean, of course, I've dealt with it for so long. I never thought of it in that term. I was like, well, that's so appropriate. So
It's a new term that's out now.
is it really? Oh, see, I thought that was a Denise thing.
No.
I'm
No,
gonna
I
credit to you
wish.
because I
I
never heard it
wish.
before. I have to change people's perspective sometimes when they come in. So like, okay, it's either sometimes it's one or two. It's like I have a lot of jobs, and I only want to talk to people who can help me fill them. Or my jobs are down, and I really need to build things up, and I just want to go and work on other people's jobs, which is fine. Both of those work. The magic is when even the job recruiter, particularly, is still talking to other people in the community who are working the same types of jobs that they are because of the Silver-Medalist concept. Because Denise, you might have the person who didn't get the job, your second place person, my client might just go, this is exactly what we're looking for. And that's why having a community and a network is so important, because otherwise that person's just going to sit on a desk or on a shelf collecting dust until next time if you ever get to work with them again. But part of that is making it work is being active in the community. So who are the other people who are working those things? Who's working your space? That's the first thing I tell people when I train them when they come into this network. It's like, you need to find out who works exactly what you do here and start talking to them. And let me show you how to find them. And then your this idea that you have here, that's when it comes into play. It's like, that's just one of the things that comes into play of a partnership here.
What is it costing companies to not have one? To place a candidate and then have all of those other really great candidates that they had as the second, third, fourth position candidates in their search. What's it costing them to not have a strategy to place those candidates?
Could be hundreds of thousands of dollars a year if you're playing your cards right.
And you mentioned it a while ago, know your space. Who else is in your space? It was funny. I went to a conference a couple of years ago. This young man says to me, "Oh, you're my competition." I said, "Well, if you want to view me that way, then I guess that's what I am. Or I'm a collaborator with you. Depends on how you want to look at it." And he goes,
Right.
"Oh, I've never thought of that before." And I said, "Well, before the internet, I mean, we all had to find really inventive, great ways to find good talent because we didn't have the internet."
But that's why we've been in business for, since 1988, because we said, it's not competition, it's collaboration.
Exactly. Let's talk about the talent market right now. And because not everybody is experiencing the same thing. So you are working with so many agencies. What are some of these agencies telling you about the market right now outside of just the industries that are hot and the industries that are not?
I think as far as when it comes to the partners, there's something that's going on there where they've actually gone through the work of reaching out and digging in and finding that person. I think the problem that people are experiencing is getting in front of that candidate, getting the candidate's attention, because all of us, we're so assaulted by these little magic rectangles, right, that make our lives better and miserable. And I think it's become something that's become a challenge, because who answers the phone anymore? If you get a phone call from somebody and they're not in your contacts, you don't answer it. You think they're trying to sell you car insurance, right? Or whatever, extended auto warranties, right? Or a text, or even emails, because some of them they end up in spam. If you're sending out emails to candidates and you have like a 4% open rate, you're like, wow, that was really good. Even though it went to like 6,000 people, 4% clicked and opened it up. So getting in front of the candidates is the challenge. And so I think that's where you see a lot of recruiters going out to social media, and they're putting TikTok videos and LinkedIn videos. I've seen more LinkedIn videos from recruiters on LinkedIn than I have anything else. But they're like trying to find out, okay, where are the candidates? Go there. And they're trying to, that's where the creativity has come in. You mentioned that earlier, right? You mentioned on being creative. You got to be creative. And that's where their challenge is right now, is to get the attention of the candidate. Because once they do, and they can get a conversation, all right, we got him on the hook. Now we can talk. But that's where the challenge is. It's for them, finding those candidates and getting them to answer the phone or call you back or respond to your post.
We're going to start using billboards again.
Yeah, really.
Billboards and park
No
benches.
kidding.
Well, and look what Craig Fisher wrote, that book, Hiring Humans. And in it, he talks about one company that actually put a QR code on a menu and offered this little restaurant that was in the middle of their ecosystem, if you would. And they offered to buy new menus for this restaurant as long as they could go ahead and put the QR code for their company on the menu. And they did. And they started recruiting that way because people, as they're looking at the menu for what they're going to order, they would take a picture of the QR code and be able to see all the current jobs that were available.
See, now that's a creative person. That's the kind of stuff that it takes, I think, to get in front of people. Thinking about I would have never thought that. I just wanted to get some chili. And now I'm scanning for a
That's
job.
right. Yeah. While you're eating your grilled cheese sandwich, you can be scrolling looking for jobs. TA has had a retention problem of its own, right? And we were talking about that. People come in, leaving the industry during downturns who don't want to come back. They find other, and there are people who do. They actually use this industry as a jumping off point to something new and exciting for themselves. Leaders are going to be burnt out though on retraining and have, because there's a lot of knowledge that goes out the door. If somebody leaves our industry, they take their knowledge with them. And they don't download that knowledge to the next person who's coming into the organization to take over their position. So now you've got TA leaders who are going to have to restaff and retrain people. So what are we going to do to create genuine staying power?
Wow. How much time do we have? So it's a loaded, there's so many like bullets underneath it. There are so many people who come into this business, and I've seen it. I've seen them come in and, because the money is amazing. If you can do it, my God, you can really have a nice living and work when you want to work. But it's not for everybody. Because when it's down, and you got to keep fighting. There has to be a level of grit in that person that is second to none, because this business is brutal. And so then I guess that should be like the open line, the qualifier. Are you made of steel before you can get into this business? Can you handle rejection 98% of the time? And meanwhile, still grinding and reaching out and building business, and but also getting trained. Very few people I talk to there are some who have taught themselves how to do this, but that's kind of like, that's an exception to the rule, because they're very far and few between. But get training, and get training by someone who's well-known. And there's plenty of them out there. I mean, I'll just name them off. And these are the ones that I know. And I'm not saying they're not paying me because they don't know that I'm doing this, right? But you've got Greg Dorsey, and he's a part of Next Level Exchange. Next Level Exchange has the market on all of the best trainers. And then also you've got Danny Cahill, who is still putting trainings out and doing webinars. And if you've never heard him, you are missing out. Barb Bruno. I mean, you want to talk about a brilliant mind in this business, in this industry? Sometimes when I'm listening to her talking, I'm like, oh my God, I would have never thought about that. I mean, she's a phenom. She really is. But as a recruiter, you've got to get somebody over you to help you through this, because if not, you're going to get lost. And then you'll be one of those people who does end up leaving the business because you just can't get through it.
So there's a version of the future where AI is going to handle a lot of the transactional work, which we want. I'm embracing it huge. I'm embracing AI. I love AI, and I ask myself sometimes, how did I do this job without ChatGPT writing job descriptions for me and presentations and whatnot? It's just amazing. So it's going to handle a lot of our transactional work in both recruiting, and also human recruiters, right, are focused entirely on relationships, they're saying, as we're using these tools more. And we get to use our judgment, again, our creativity, like you mentioned. But how close are we actually to this as a threat? Because some people are threatened by AI. Is this actually a threat for us, or is this more of a benefit?
I don't think it's a threat. I think it's another one of those shifts, because do you think, and I'm going to ask you this, you submit yourself information to a job and you respond to a chat bot back and forth, and you're going to change your life. What are the major points, the most important things that happen in our life, right? Getting married, getting a new job, having a child, all those things. Do you think any human is really going to hand that kind of major life change over to programming? and they're going to stop what they're doing and change their lifestyle, and all because they had an interaction with something. It's going to be my relationship with someone like you, Denise, because you engage me and I go, okay, she's a person. I trust her. There's background to her. There's history with her. She has experience. She's not a program. She's a human who understands my needs. You can't explain to me. You can kind of meet me where I need to be, as opposed to an AI thing, right? I don't see it as a threat, because it can never do this, because there's nothing to it. It doesn't even, to me, it doesn't even exist.
Well, and you brought up earlier too, Drea, that we have already been through so many of these gyrations before with the internet and Indeed and LinkedIn, and I think you're exactly right. Exactly right. We will always remain human. This
Yeah.
is a human endeavor. And the fact that we do use chatbots all the time, people don't even realize that. And that's a good point that you just brought up.
The people that I have met, which is hundreds, that left the corporate world and then went out on their own, like, well, I'm just going to do this for myself, because they saw the light somehow, and like, I need to leave the corporate world and do this on my own. They have a good sales instinct and a good ethic. And I mean ethic as in ethics. The recruiting business is certainly one of the areas that you will see the reap what you sow faster than anywhere else in the world. I don't know, maybe, right? And so those people who have a good sales kind of drive and that mentality of engaging with someone, getting to know what they need and finding a way to satisfy that need, whether it's a client or the candidate, it's just some hardwired. I don't know what they were in. I can't go back to their high school years, but like, what's their genetic makeup that brought them up to that point to where they just get it. And it's almost something you just have to identify in a person, as opposed to training them. But then again, it's just like anything. You find those people who are going to come to you and say, yes, I really want to do this. And you'll quickly be able to identify the ones who have that sales mind. And they're like, okay, they're going to do it. And they're not afraid to get dirty and nasty. Not nasty as a person, but nasty as like, all right, let's get down and get to it. Into the swamp. And they could do it.
Well, where do you see the traffic heading right now? Do you see it heading out of corporate into the agency side? Do you see more of that right now?
Denise, it's really strange, because at the same time, and maybe I'm just hearing, hopefully it's not recency bias, but it's over the past year or so, where clients are going, well, we have our own team.
Right.
They're using their own teams, right? So that's like a roller coaster. That's always up and down.
Always.
Oh, but then you have those who are coming to. It's probably been a couple months. Maybe it's probably slowed down in the past 6 months. But up until then, I was talking to a couple people a month who were leaving the corporate world to go and do their own thing. And now some of them were let go because hiring was down. So they're like, we have to unload our talent acquisition team because they cost us money. We're not hiring. And that happens. So some of them are going to say, well, the ones that are saying, but I love this. And I guess I would say that, first of all, if they love this, they got to screw loose. But that's one of the charms. That's one of those things that makes that person going to be able to do this, an accomplishment, because back to Mariah saying it's not for wimps. You have to have a little bit of a screw loose to do this.
Really thick skin, like really thick.
Thick skin. And I don't feel like I don't want to go back and recover that topic that I already did, but I'm kind of talking about that. How are we going to get those people up through there? Identify the sales mind. And that's the person. The salespeople who don't want to think they're not selling, but when they realize what they're doing and recruiting, it's selling. You got to sell to the candidate. You got to sell to the client.
It's a two-way
You got to
sell.
sell the candidate to the client.
It's like real estate. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Instead of selling property, we're selling people. Ooh.
Yeah. Greg Dorshin calls it the three-headed sales monster. You got to sell yourself to the client to give you the job. Then you got to sell the sell the job to the candidate to get them to, be interested. And then you got to sell the candidate back to the client. And you're just like, holy
I
mackerel.
haven't heard
what?
that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's interesting. There was a guy I worked with years ago. His name was Ian McKenzie. He was at Intel, and I just loved working for him. He was British. So imagine him saying this with a British accent, right? He said, the best recruiters are the recruiters who start out on the agency side. And then they come into corporate America if they so choose to. And he said the reason is because recruiters who start out or work on the agency side have a sense of urgency about filling positions that corporate recruiters that start out in corporate recruiting don't have.
Right.
Because corporate recruiters are getting paid whether they place people or not. Agency
Yeah.
recruiters are only getting paid when they place somebody. So there is a distinct difference, like you said, in that sales mentality. And he even said, I would prefer to bring people in who have come from the agency side because they have that sense of urgency. Okay, big question. If somebody in corporate TA wants to make a transition to the agency world, what should they honestly know before making that jump?
They should be good at business development. Know how to talk to a client because that's where the money's at. Right? Can you engage the VP of some department and find them and talk to them and engage them and go, I can help you. And I think that comes along with also knowing your numbers, because when you're talking to someone at that level who's going to make hiring decisions, who's going to say, yes, I will work with you. I will sign your 25% fee contract on a 90-day guarantee. You have to have some stuff. You have to have some content thing. So knowing your numbers, I think, is be important. Knowing your send out ratio, and this is how fast you fill jobs. Even if it is from the corporate world, it's still your numbers. It's your activity. It doesn't have to be your agency, that activity. It's like you as a person. What are your baseball stats? Because that's what they want to hear. Like, oh, okay. All right. You know what you're doing, instead of someone who just heard it was a really neat thing, a neat way to make money, and who still has a Yahoo address. Get a domain, for God's sakes. It's $50 because people I see, because I see those, and they want to be a recruiter, which is great. I love it. It's fantastic. But get yourself a domain. Figure out what your company name is, and don't email thinking clients are going to respond to you with a Gmail address or a Yahoo address or whatever. It better say so-and-so counsel or whatever, consulting partners, something, whatever your company is. Because then, it seems silly, but your digital footprint is important.
It's very important. And one recommendation I would actually share as well is if you can find a recruiting firm who's looking to hire people, especially
Right.
entry level, that would be a great, because again, you get that training.
As long as you can get in there and there's not, kind of invasive non-competes and things like that. Like MRI is an example. I read the MRI training manual twice when I started at this company. Or I was like, learn this. And I was like, when I got done, I was like, okay. While I didn't understand about half of what I read because I was still learning it, as I got into this more and more and more, I was like, oh, I remember them talking about that. So I think I agree with what you're saying, because you're going to go through a regiment of here's what you need to do. And some people just need that structure, and you're going to come into an environment where they focus on that structure, and that'll put you in the right place. That, or you'll go, I can't do this.
But I think going from corporate into agency, yeah, it's a big leap.
Sure.
But unless you've been there and you
yeah.
see what the agents are making, if you have vendors that you are hiring candidates from, and you see what the placement fees are for those vendors, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of corporate, man. There's a ceiling here to what I can make in corporate. But in the agency
yeah.
side, there's no ceiling, and you can just kind of go there.
I've heard that story so many times. Like, gotta be careful how I say this, but people who've worked at agencies, and they're like, they get a percentage. And there was a point where, like, wait a minute, I'm only getting 40% of this. I'm going to go out and do this on my own. And then they hopefully part ways pleasantly
Yeah.
and properly. But yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's just another side of it.
Well, for me personally, I started out in agency, I went to corporate, and now I'm back to agency.